Long ago, when the pyramids were still young, Egyptian kings played a game of great and terrible power. But these shadow games erupted into a war that threatened to destroy the entire world, until a brave and powerful pharaoh locked the magic away.
Hey, what's up you guys? Today I'm creating a character from one of my favorite animes, Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm always a big fan of anything that involves ancient Egypt and magic. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is based around a card game called Duel Monsters. It's a game of strategy and power, and also believing in the heart of the cards. And from the anime, I'm going to create one of my favorite duel monsters ever, the Dark Magician Girl. I used to play Duel Monsters all the time with my friends, and I always had a Dark Magician Girl in my deck of cards. For this custom, I'm going to be using Draculaura from Monster High. Her pink skin tone will help in the illusion of an anime character. I want to try and create her entire outfit out of fun foam, or fun paper, or whatever you want to call it. Using the doll as a reference guide, I draw and cut these pieces, which will be the base of her costume. It just so happened that I found the exact blue color I needed. Now to shape the pieces. Using a candle, you can warp the foam pieces into whatever form you want by hovering them over the flame. When the foam heats up, it naturally wants to bend, and it's at that point that you can form it into whatever you want. And I do this with every single piece I cut out. I realized that I cut out her armbands in the wrong shape. I want the seam to be hidden, so I cut out new shapes to have the look I want. Trial and error, you know? For her boots, I used the same technique. It takes a little bit of time to get a really tight fit, but if you breathe and think happy thoughts, then you will get through it without throwing any doll limbs across the room. With that said, it was really hot when I filmed this part, so I had to have a fan going. But it kept blowing out the candle, so I eventually just resorted to using the flame straight from the source. I cut out the soles of her boots and used hot glue to attach them. This is what the end product will look like. But for now, let's move on to her hat. She wears a cornucopia style hat, so I knew that I wouldn't be able to use heat to get the shape that I wanted. Or at least I couldn't think of a way to do it. So I'm cutting up sections of it so I can control where I want the shape to go. Using some duct tape, I closed the ends of each section. Add a little bit of super glue for extra strength. Now to assemble. I slide each section into the next, gently tugging to achieve the exact bend of her magical cornucopia hat. And as always, using hot glue to secure everything. And I'm not even worried about any unsightly seams or glue marks on her hat because everything will be covered later. Now this step ended up not being relevant at all later, but I thought I'd include it anyways. I wanted her costume to have more depth and dimension, so I thought I'd paint on some highlight shine. I did this to every single piece I created. And here's why it became irrelevant. I added holographic glitter to really make her pop in a magical way. And I was inspired by the illuminating veil of light that cloaks every monster while materializing onto the field. I initially didn't use that much glitter, nor did I secure it on, so glitter was falling off left and right. So in the end, I securely attached it, and that's when I went heavy-handed with the glitter. Now I'm taking some Scribbles 3D fabric paint and piping the edges. And since I don't have the steadiest of hands thanks to all the caffeine I drink, I just fix any wobbly lines after. And now I begin the long and tedious process of painting all of the piping from white to pink. Moving on to her scepter. I'm using an old paintbrush I found in a random drawer that is too far gone as the base. I form all the additional details out of polymer clay, and then bake them separately. For her skirt and her cape, I'm using actual fabric. I have cut out banana-shaped pieces and serged all the edges because this material frays like crazy. But to hide the serged edges, I used the always faithful fabric glue. Gather the top edge of each piece and they're done. And now all the clay has baked, so it's ready to be super glued together and painted. Okay, back to her hat. I want the bill of her hat to be able to move, so I'm using wire to bind it to the base. Finally, we can work on her face. I've sprayed her blanked face with a coat of Mr. Super Clear. I only spray the face once before I start, and I spray about 3 times total from start to finish. And I want to apologize for this warm yellow light that's saturating the colors in a very unpleasant way. I need to go out and get a different light, so bear with me. I'm using watercolored pencils to sketch in the eyes. And I'm using soft pastels to snatch back her face. I always love using a lot because it really defines the cheekbones. I didn't follow the mold of Draculaura's eyes because I wanted this character's eyes to be much wider and fuller. So I overdrew as much as I could. More painting! I like adding acrylic paint to the eyes because it gives another texture to them besides the pencil lines. Add the eyelights and her face is done. I'm using yellow acrylic yarn for her hair. Attach the tracks of hair and this doll is done.